Greetings, people. It's Jared here, Wolfgang One, back to do another Transformers review. This is one that I wasn't going to do immediately. I had another figure lined up, but I decided that the things that I noticed about it, the thoughts that I had, I felt that I wanted to share as quickly as possible. So, with that in mind, we're going to get straight on into this review, and this is the review for Studio Series 86 Retgar. Right, so here's Retgar in his box. It's the standard Studio Series 86 box that Jazz and Blur and all the others would have come in. Some nice artwork on the sides, a little bit of blurb, not too much on the back, showing the vehicle and the robot mode. And he also comes with an inner cardboard display stand, which I'll come on to when I show the accessories. I really like the artwork on this. Actually, that's very evocative of the movie, just in a different stylized sort of art form. The detail on that is really cool. So I'm not going to spend too much time showing the figure in the box, because here's the thing about a figure in a box: it always looks like a figure in a box, and you can't really form too much of an opinion or a judgment based on that. But he looks very nice in his packaging. A little bit of glare from my my lamp there, but who cares? Yeah, so I picked this up from Smiths. All these recent figures came from Smiths, ordering online, and this cost me about $34.99. So $34.99 for the size of him. I'd say actually, yeah, that's fair enough. I do have a couple of gripes which make me question whether or not $34.99 was an acceptable price point. Again, it sounds like I'm bitching for no reason. I actually really like this figure. I really like this figure. I like the sculpt, the overall imposing like sort of size of him compared to like sort of Blur or Jazz or whatever like that. But that's not to say he's perfect, because if he was perfect, then I would be singing his praises from the outset and saying this is an amazing toy. There are a couple of things that let it down. I know, either through accident or design. I'm thinking design because obviously someone designed it. That just kind of make me go, you should know better than that by this stage. Obviously, I'm being intentionally coy as to what I'm talking about, which I'll come on to when I show the robot. So Retgar and the Junkions join the Autobots after exchanging the universal greeting "Bar Weep Granal Weep Ninibong." And interestingly, the universal greeting is something that even to this day, 30 odd years after it was first coined, it's still something that I occasionally say to my sister. My sister, who is 5 years older than me, who has never liked Transformers, has always thought they were a little bit silly, but also appreciates at the same time my passion for them. It's the one thing she remembers from Transformers. She just about remembers who Optimus Prime and Megatron are. But occasionally, even now, when we're having a drink or we're being stupid or anything like that, she'll say to me, "Bar Weep Granai Weep Ninibong," and I'll say, "Bar Weep Granai Weep Ninibong," and it's a mutual understanding. Just there, the universal greeting, ladies and gentlemen. Who'd have thought that it actually works? So let's crack this guy out of the box and show you the figure itself and the accessories that he came with. Right, ladies and gentlemen, so we're going to have a look at the accessories and things he came with, and then I'm going to have to just like sort of talk off camera while I attach the accessories, because it's a bit it's going to spoil the surprise basically if I do it on camera. So first of all, he comes with this internal display stand which shows the scene from Junkion. Some really nice artwork there. I wished I had the capacity to display these with the figures. I just don't have the room. But I am gifting these to someone who I know is just going to adore them. So yeah, so it's a decent bit of artwork, but sadly a bit of a throwaway gimmick for me as I've got no room for it. He also came with one instruction booklet. So there we are. There we are. It's an instruction booklet, not really a lot to say. Comes with his axe. I'll get a little bit closer here. Comes with his axe. I was expecting the handle to be a little longer, actually, but he holds it very well in the ports in his hands, so that's that. And then he comes with 2 wheels for the motorcycle mode and obviously his robot mode. I'm a bit I can understand one of them being detachable. Both, on the other hand, is a bit of a piss take. Excuse me, I've got a bit of a cold. Especially if you consider that the Generation 1 toy, one wheel was detachable, but the other one was on a sliding joint, which, so when you detached it from the underside of the legs, it folded around on one leg. So I'm a bit surprised that was like sort of halfway integrated into the vehicle and robot, and the Generations figure had them both incorporated into robot and vehicle. You didn't have to detach them at all. So I'm a bit surprised for the Studio series that these are detachable at all. But there we are. So I'm just going to attach them to the toy, as annoying as that is. And yeah, I'm just going to keep the camera running because, you know, that's the way I am. Talk amongst yourselves, or go and make a cup of tea. In fact, you might not have enough time to make a cup of tea. Hope you're all right. I'm doing great. I'm just preparing Retgar for his review, so to speak. Yeah, except I think I've done something slightly weird with this. Maybe I have, I don't know. You can only imagine what I'm seeing right now. So I tell you what, I'm just going to cut the camera. I'm just going to get this sorted off camera, and then we'll be back, because I don't think it's fair you sitting there listening to me harp on about something you can't see. Right, ladies and gentlemen, sorry about that. I was kind of hoping to have as few transitions as possible, but obviously this is one of my videos, so anything I plan automatically goes to shit. But ignoring that, this is Retgar in his alt mode. And it's a very, very faithful depiction of the alt mode that he has in the 86 movie. I'm going to get the... should I get the gripes out of the way, or should I talk a little bit? Nah, let's talk a little bit. Some decent paint app just on the fuel tank just here. Some really, really nice painted detail just here on the engine. That's all red molded plastic. You got some, I think, the inside wheel. No, that's yellow. I'm not sure. Yellow plastic. Can't tell. I think this is all painted grey. As you can see, there's some paint chipping already on my wheel just here. So the paint hasn't taken perfectly, and you can see there's a couple of splotches and everything like that. So it's not ideal. The other thing I've got to say is out of the box, this little spiky thing right here was bent. So I've heard apparently from Marcus Prime that a few people's had that problem, and if I want to fix it, soak it in warm water, bend it, and then leave it. I don't give that much of a fuck about it, to be honest, to start doing things like that. And in a way, I think it's kind of endearing. This is endearing to the fact that he's a junkyard, he's made out of junk, so maybe not everything is going to look perfect. The alt mode does, you know, look like him. It's you know, decent enough, I think. A tiny little bit of visible head syndrome underneath the wind guard right there. Got some little kickstands just on the bottom here. You fold these away, but apart from that, he stands on those very, very well. So I would say for the most part, this is a decent alt mode. However, and this is a big fucking however. Oh, actually, before I get to that, weapon storage, stick that on the back like that. I'll be honest with you, ladies and gentlemen, that looks like he's fan powered. It looks like a piece of shit. So we ignore that. However, this is as I said, I think I paid about $34.99 off Smith's. So let's say this is a £35 toy, right? So would someone please explain to me exactly what the fuck this is? See this gap just here? Now, I'm going to use the G1 as a reference here, and maybe that's not such a good example because the G1 was very much a product of its time, and therefore, by today's standards, I admittedly is a bit shit. However, a similar transformation process, this would be the head on the G1, so you lift that up, you lift up the chest with the gun tits, right? And then, yes, you fold away the arms underneath it. However, there was absolutely no gap like this. And I've tried manipulating this, and I've tried fucking around with it. This is the official way it's supposed to be, right? I'm sorry. Yes, you could say, oh, well, he's made out of junk, not everything fits. Yeah, but when it comes to £35 worth of fucking toy, as far as I'm concerned, that is supposed to fit. There's not supposed to be a whopping great gap there. That sort of takes away. And as we're talking about gaps, this one just here, I mean, I know on the G1 the legs didn't bend, they came all the way up to here, and there was no gapping whatsoever. Again, the toy was manufactured with limitations back then and everything. I can appreciate all that. My point is, is 35 years down the line or whatever it is, with those limitations removed, why have I got a massive fucking gap right here underneath the seat that doesn't look very big? You could have done something. You could have made a couple of little flaps that peg in and tab into like the sort of this section just here, just to hide this. So you've still got a little bit of clearance for the wheel for it to roll. Let's put these down quickly. He doesn't roll brilliantly on this surface, but he does roll. I think the addition to the little spikes on the wheels is actually a nice little touch. Didn't have to do it. And obviously your little storage compartment things here, they do move up and down, but that's also the hip guards, so that's like transformation to get like the legs out of the way for articulation. So he doesn't roll particularly well on this surface, but I have rolled him on other surfaces and he rolls fine. So it's probably just the material on just here. For the most part, the alt mode is fine. It is, you know, moving handlebars, you know, X, Y, Z, blah, blah, blah. It looks exactly like what it's supposed to be. But this right here and just here is unforgivable. For a toy that you're charging £35 for, I'm sorry, that is unforgivable. This little bit of gapping right here, I can live with that because that's where the feet connect into like what are basically the shoulders just here with like these little tabs just here. I can forgive this, so you've got a little bit of room for the engine block. But surely I can't be the only one noticing that and thinking that's a bit wank, right? I was talking to Marcus Prime about this, and he was like saying, "Oh, it's a gorgeous toy, blah blah blah." And I said, "It is a gorgeous toy. I'm not disagreeing with you on there, but I expected something a little bit more than this." And as much as he loves the toy, he couldn't argue with what I'm saying. Also on the G1, this section just here, unless the hinge became really loose over time, this section just here was flush directly 90-degree angle to this. This one hangs down a little bit. Maybe that's what it's supposed to be on the character model. I don't know. But it just kind of looks weird to the point where I've tried fucking with this. I've tried moving this up further. It won't move up further because it's tabbed into the arms just here. So this won't move anymore. And that is the way it's supposed to sit. And I'm exceptionally let down by that. Now, I'm willing to go on record and say that I'm a 41-year-old man. I'm still collecting this shit, right? My troubles in life are negligible if I'm being bothered by this shit, right? However, I have just spent £35 on this toy and was not expecting to see such a glaring oversight, especially from the Studio Series line, which is supposed to be slightly more upmarket. We can get away with charging slightly more for a Voyager or a Deluxe class because it's the Studio Series line. That's the fucking overall take on it. Fine, okay, charge me more for a Voyager or a Deluxe in the Studio Series line, but don't be fucking taking the piss with all this gapping just here, because that one completely spoils the immersion of what I'm doing and just makes me sit here and rant on camera. Oh, that's got gaps when I don't think it should have gaps. Again, a minor complaint, but it's there. For me, it's the first thing my eyes are drawn to. As a result, it sort of takes away from the experience of the rest of it, which is colours are great. Colours match like what they're supposed to. The sculpting just here, I mean, you've got the handlebars just here. They move for transformation. You've got like the little speedometer thing on the back of the head thing, just like, you know, these gaps here are taking away from the details of the rest of it. And that is a bit shit, quite frankly. Now, I might be in a minority here, ladies and gentlemen. I might be the only one sitting here going, oh, that's not good enough. But maybe I'm not. If I'm not, tell me in the comments so I suddenly don't feel like a fucking idiot ranting and raving about basically things that are not important. I know they're not important, but it's worth saying. I'm a Transformers reviewer. Well, trying to be a Transformer reviewer again. And as far as I'm concerned, as this is my video, my opinion counts. So there we are. So that's the alt mode. As much as I like it and as much as I appreciate that it is a representation of what it's supposed to be, this is completely spoiling the effect for me. I dare say they'll probably repurpose this into a Junkion or two to bump out the Studio Series line, and I understand that Hot Rod or somebody else are actually able to straddle this and use the handlebars. I might show that off when I do Hot Rod's review. But all in all, that is, for me, really, really jarring, and it shouldn't be jarring. I should be taking a lot more enjoyment out of the alt mode than I am, simply because of this bullshit. But there we are. So that's my thoughts and opinions on the alt mode, ladies and gentlemen. So we're going to take this straight to the transformation. Okay, so we're going to start off by unplugging let's get that shit out of the way. We're going to start by unplugging the front wheel, and that just plugs in the hands like that. And we are going to untab these two sections here on both sides, okay, just like that, and then bring this all the way out. Let's raise this a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. There we are. Bring that out, and then separate these so we can get this wheel out as well. Okay, now I might actually do a comparison at some point with the other wreck guards to show why I think that right there is another bullshit move, but we'll see. We're going to extend these sections fully like that, and then the tabs at the bottom, we're going to fold those up for the feet. So that's basically the legs done right there. Okay, then we're going to untab this chest section out from the arms like that. Just pops away very, very nicely. Fold these out to the sides, and then let's bring this camera up a little bit. That's not far enough. Brilliant. Then once we've got that untabbed, we're going to bring down the chest section, which has the head, and it's on like a double sort of like hinge mechanism just there, which is cool. Then this section just here, we're going to collapse this into the fuel tank until it, and then push the windshield in like that as well, and then push that into the clicks like that. Okay, then we're going to angle these up and then collapse this entire assembly in on itself. I always get this wrong, so bear with me. We're going to collapse it in like that, and then tab these two tabs into these little ports here. I don't know if you can see that. Let's get some light on that. So these two tabs here on the inner shoulders into these two ports just here, and that locks the chest and the arms into place and all that. But yeah, there's something fiddly that I'm not doing here, which is, bear with me. There we are. Collapse that in somehow. There we are. Yeah, I'm you know, I'm a Transformers reviewer, ladies and gentlemen, but you know I've always been shit at what I do. Okay, so there we are. So we're going to plug those in like that. Somehow. They do have a tendency to move when you're trying to line it up, which is a bit annoying. Oh, fuck you. Fuck you and the horse you rode in on. Is that tab? No, that's not right. Is that pushed in all the way? Yeah, it is. Bear with. Right, do you know what? This is where you make yourself a cup of tea, because I'm pissing myself off here. So bear with me. Right, yeah. Do you know what? Yeah, we're just going to cut that. Right, okay. So yeah, that's what I didn't show. So if I'm gonna pop this open again and be brave. This tab connects into this port right here in the brown section, and then you can collapse it all in together. I just fucking did it. There we are. So that's locked in like that. Then we want to collapse this assembly into itself like that. That port and post mechanism right there. There we are. Straighten him up. Straighten him up. Then bring down the arms. Rotate them out like that, and then flip out the hands on the tabs. And then finally, bring the two handlebars and fold them back down over the fuel tank. And that right there, ladies and gentlemen, is Wreck Gar in robot mode. Right there. Now, I don't know how much of that I showed on camera, quite frankly, because that was starting to piss me off. We're going to give him his accessories now. So we take one of these wheels and we plug it onto the spike. If I got that the right way around, don't think it really matters. So that on the spike, plug that in. Take the same thing and then do that with the arm, like that. Give him his signature axe, and then put him into some sort of dynamic Wreck-Gar-y pose. Yeah, I've got gripes with the robot mode as well, basically. Right. Let's talk about the positives first of all. The sculpt right here is fantastic. It's quintessentially Retgar. You can tell that the face sculpt here, I'm just going to get a close-up of this right just here. That face sculpt right there is absolutely incredible. The beard, the colours, the sculpting on the nose and everything like that, the face, absolutely fantastic and well done. Articulation-wise, his tits move out to the sides and around, so he's got opposable guns, which obviously the previous versions didn't have. The arms go around full 360. You've got swivels at the bicep and like sort of the elbow just there moves. There's a bit of a hollow arm thing going on at the back, but that's for the transformation for the wrist. But again, a little panel over the back wouldn't have been a problem. You can move the arms out to the sides and so the hip skirts, so you can get the legs out and around and everything like that. And the legs move in a variety of places. So if you want a more in-depth approach, Jesus, that's my washing machine going. If you want a more in-depth approach to exactly what the articulation is on this guy, go and watch someone else's review, because the longer I go on with this, I'm getting pissed off. All in all, a very, very successful robot mode. However, again, do you know what? Hold on, because my washing machine should not be making that amount of noise. Jesus, 100 fucking transitions later. My washing machine apparently travelled halfway across the kitchen, which is something it's never done before, so that's a cause for concern. Anyway, things, if you want to see someone else's video on this about articulation, then go ahead and watch someone else's. My main gripe with this, again, it's a fantastic robot mode. It's sculpted really well. The details are there. It looks like exactly what it's supposed to be. However, if I want to move it, if I want to do anything with it, then this right here comes away really, really easily. I kind of feel like the port and post mechanism should have been a little bit deeper, or a different type of plastic to like fully hold that in. And if I want to move the legs out to the side, then it's popping out. I think basically for the money that I paid for it, as lovely as he is, and as much as I really, really like the sculpt and I like the character and I like the figure, I don't think he's necessarily worth the money that I paid for him, based off some of the issues that I'm having with him. Now, I know Marcus Prime said that a few people have noticed that there's pops out at the waist really, really easily. So that what you would imagine to be an ab crunch right there is really easy to achieve, because friction is the only thing holding that in, and the friction isn't doing a fantastic job. The colours, yeah, I like the colours. He poses very well. He looks really, really nice. He ticks most of the boxes of what I expected Retgar to be from the Studio Series line. He does. But at the same time, those glaring faults that are just evident, apparently not just on mine, it kind of makes me question, was he worth the 35 quid? And I'm 30, maybe, slightly under would have been lovely, but it's the Studio Series line. I'm not going to get away with that. The one thing I really do begrudge is having to fuck around with these wheels and move them and peg them in. The G1, I keep going back to the G1, but it's true. The G1 was like that, and then you moved it round to the back, and it just connected. The Generations version, it's all molded into the arms and the legs, so it's all incorporated into one complete figure. So I didn't expect this to come in about 3 parts, quite frankly. To have a Studio Series figure that was parts forming to that degree, for me is a bit of a question mark and a what the fuck are you doing. He spins very, very nicely on his waist just there. Again, doesn't feel like there's a lot gripping that. Would I recommend him? Yes, I would recommend him, because as I said, at the end of the day, the sculpt is decent. He looks amazing. But whenever I try to do anything with him, parts pop off, or he pops out of his fucking waist like that. And just does things that I don't necessarily want it to do, which is annoying. See, I've just lifted his arm up like that, and his fucking waist has popped out again. So I'm hoping that the more of these they do, they're able to correct that for people down the line who want to who want to buy this figure, who aren't going to have the same issues. Maybe there'll be a little bit more tolerance there. Maybe they'll fix that. I'd hope so, but I doubt it. He's got the ability to move great, but then he'll always end up doing something that you don't want him to do, just to try and get him in a pose, and that's not necessarily what I was looking for. When it's come to like certain figures, like so when I got Studio Series Jazz, I replaced my Classics Jazz with him. In terms of this guy, I think I'm also going to be keeping my Generations Wreck guy. I'm not swapping that out because I know a lot of people were annoyed with him. For some reason, I really liked him. He wasn't perfect, but he did well. He did, and he did it well. This guy does what he does well, just not as well as I'd like him to. So yeah, that is my thoughts and opinions on Wreck Gar from the Studio Series 86 line, ladies and gentlemen. I do hope you enjoyed that. I would try getting them into a more dynamic pose than what I'm doing here. It's just that then I'm going to get even more annoyed when things keep popping out and popping off and fucking off. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching this review. This is Gerard Galvin Barry, also known as Wolfgang1, saying I will be back in the near future with another review. I'm going to try and fill a whole bunch of these today if I can, because I'm really in the mood to do this. And that way I haven't got to worry for the next couple of weeks about what my schedule's going to be. If you haven't subbed already and you've just stumbled upon me, then thank you very much for taking the time to watch me. If you like what I do, then feel free to give a sub, subscribe, do the sharing thing. I don't know. All that stuff that people tell you to do with their channels. If you want to do it, then go ahead and do it. I still haven't learned a decent script enough for that yet. So if you like me, sub me. If you don't, then I hope you enjoyed this video at least. So until we see each other again, ladies and gentlemen, this is Gerard Galvin Barry saying take care. And when tomorrow comes